So again, thank you all so much for coming today. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to be talking about play attention and how we utilize the latest research in neuroplasticity and NASA inspired technology to improve executive function and self regulation. A lot of you here today have been to past webinars. And if you've come to our webinars, because we do offer them weekly, and we often talk about different tips and strategies that you can use in different skill areas. We may talk about organization skills or emotion regulation. Next week, we're actually talking about ADHD in the workplace and how to thrive and succeed. So, we cover a lot of tips and strategies that we hope you can apply in your day to day life. But when we talk about those tips and strategies, of course, those are so important to have in your toolbox. But in order for you to really use those tips and strategies and get maximum benefit out of those strategies, you have to have strong executive function and you have to have certain cognitive skills in place to allow you to use that organizer. Or if we teach you how to do a checklist, how to actually organize the checklist and follow through with the checklist. So, we want to talk today about how we can address those foundational skills. And we do that through play attention. So many of you have asked for a specific webinar just on play attention so that we can review how we customize everyone's program and the whole process that's involved when you start working on play attention and actually working on those foundational skills that you need in order to have strong executive function. So again, we'll be talking today about play attention, how we customize everyone's plan, and the whole process of support that's behind our program. Now, we've been doing one thing, and we specialized in that one thing for almost 30 years. We help you reach your goals. You are all here today because you have a specific goal in mind, I'm sure. So maybe you're a parent and you have a child who's struggling in school, or perhaps you're an adult and you want to improve your organizational skills, or maybe your relationships. How maybe you are a professional and you want to help your clients develop those skills that they need in order to be successful in the classroom or the workplace or home. If you would, go ahead and type in some of your goals. Are you here because you want to help your child? Are you here because you want to develop your personal skills? Are you a client? Are you a professional and you want to help your clients? What are some of your goals today? Type them in your chat box so that I can share some of your feedback so that we all get a better understanding of why we're here today. Are you interested in improving your ability to sustain your attention? Perhaps you're looking to improve your ability to start and complete tasks in a timely manner. Are you working too hard? Do you get to the end of the day and you think, gosh, I've been busy all day and I have finished nothing? What are some of your goals? Let's see. Robin says she wants to develop her skills. Kelly says she wants to learn more about executive function to help live better with OCD and ADHD. Lisa says, help my SEMH students regulate and learn social skills, etc. Let me see. Christine says all of the above. Excellent. Robin says university challenges. William wants to learn how professionals can use play attention. Excellent. Tracy is helping caregivers with children they are fostering and looking at trauma focus approaches and simple approaches. Excellent. Lori wants to develop her own skills, time management. He's gotten far in the day, but feel like nothing accomplished. Okay. Sandy wants to develop executive function in high school grandson. Carla says, my son and I were diagnosed combination ADHD within the last 4 months, and I'm trying to make our lives better and easier together. You know, Carla brings up an important point that we don't know what causes an attention problem or ADHD, but it does seem to run in many families. So, what I want you to keep in mind as we go through the program is that you can enroll in a play attention program, whether you're a child or you're an adult. We recommend that you're at least 5 years old, but you can work all the way up through adulthood. So it's really important to remember that in that we can customize everyone's plan. So if you're a family and you want to go through the program together, great. If you're a professional like William, maybe you work with a variety of ages, we can customize that plan based on their particular needs. Excellent. There are a lot of other people responding. I can't read them all, but I do appreciate your feedback, and this gives me a really good understanding. We have a lot of individuals here who are educators, which is always great to see as well. Catherine helped me and my 23-year-old son with executive functioning skills. We both have ADD. So another area where we seem to be working with an entire family. Valerie says, help with my adult ADHD, especially time and space management. Excellent. Very good. Okay, now also a couple of you brought up ADD, ADHD, and ODD, or ADHD and dyslexia, ADHD and anxiety. So it's important to remember that it's very rare that attention difficulties exist on their own, right? There are usually a variety of maybe labels involved. And so it's important to understand that we can help with the foundational skills and address all of those areas that you want to improve in executive function. Now, we might not be addressing ODD in particular, but what we have found is that when we can address those underlying skills, oftentimes you'll see those other areas of difficulty lessen in severity. And if you do need another program for example, let's say dyslexia, if you start with play attention, you are developing those skills that they need in order to get maximum benefit from any other program or counseling program that you may have in place. So a lot of you here have some different things that you want to work through. So just know that whatever you're doing within play attention is going to simply complement what you're doing in other areas as well. So we know that we can help you reach your goals by customizing a neurocognitive training program that will work on those foundational skills that are necessary for success. And we've been doing this for, as I said, almost 30 years. We were the pioneers in neurocognitive training. We actually invented the genre. When our founder, Peter Freer, was researching the latest techniques in NASA in attention training back in the 1980s, he came across the work that NASA was doing with their pilots and astronauts. And he found that they were integrating feedback-based technology with their simulator training. This means that they were monitoring the brain states of their pilots and astronauts while they were doing their flight simulation. So when they were in their flight simulation, if they were very attentive, then all of their controls were easy to use. They were automatic. But if that pilot or the astronaut became very distracted or stressed or anxious, they weren't as focused on their task, and that brain state changed, then all of their controls became very sluggish. They became manual, harder to control. So they were integrating that ability to pay attention with their simulator training. And the founder of our company thought, that's brilliant. If I can actually allow our students to see their attentive state in real time while practicing the skills, the cognitive skills they need in order to be successful, then I have a comprehensive program. And that is the foundation of play attention, integrating that feedback technology where we can monitor your brain state with specific skill training that you use on a day-to-day basis. Now, what makes us unique and effective is what we teach and how to teach it. Because Play Attention is the only program available that integrates feedback-based technology with cognitive skill training and behavior shaping to provide you the most comprehensive approach available. This is our body wave technology. You see it on the screen, but I'm going to hold it up here. And when you look on the back, you'll notice that there are 3 sensors. And those sensors monitor your brain activity that tells us how attentive you are. And then that information is given over to the computer where you're allowed to control all of the cognitive exercises just with your mind, or more specifically, your attention alone. And you receive constant and immediate feedback as to whether or not you truly are focused and paying attention. And that's a really important first step in the learning process, because right now, and I want you to respond to this question. If you look at your child or your clients or your students or your grandchild and you say, I need you to pay attention, what do they typically say back to you? I want to see if you're hearing the same thing I was hearing when I was a classroom teacher. If you say, I really need you to pay attention, what's the first thing they typically say back to you? Exactly. Carla and Deborah, Michelle, Zainab, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Eves, let's see, Robin, all of you are saying, I am paying attention, right? I am. And they really think that they are paying attention, but they just haven't developed what it takes for them personally to stay very focused to low stimuli activity for long periods of time. So what we're able to do with that body wave technology is take a very abstract concept and make it concrete and controllable, where they actually see their attention in real time. They feel what they're doing, and they're allowed to practice specific skills. And that's important when we can provide them with that experience, because if you think about yourself or your child or your students, how do they learn best? I want you to type in, how do they typically learn best? Do they learn best by experience, hands-on? Are they hands-on learners? Or do they learn best by lecture? Is it experiential learning or hands-on learning that you or your child or your students learn from best? Okay, most of you here, about 95% of you are saying experiential. Of course, Catherine, it does depend on their learning style. Everyone's different, right? And some need a combined approach. But for most of you, you're saying experiential. If I provide my child with an experience, he learns from it. And unfortunately, with attention, we oftentimes try to teach it through lecture, right? We say, sit still, eyes on me, pay attention. We try to tell them what to do. And that's very difficult for them to still understand how to control their attention. But when we can show them their attention in real time and allow them to experience it and practice it, that's where you see skill development take place, through that experience and that constant and immediate feedback. Now, I had a question that I want to address up here. Catherine says, I'm curious about how the body wave connects by wearing it on the arm. So Catherine, when you think about attention, right now you have billions of neurons firing in your brain at different times. But when all of those neurons fire in synchrony, when they all fire at one time, you give off a very specific electromagnetic signal. And that signal is what we know of as attention. Now, that signal is what this body wave armband is listening for. And I understand you're saying, well, how does it read that when you have it on the arm? Because typically you're probably very familiar with something on the head, right? When someone says we're monitoring brain activity, They have something on the head. They might have a headband or sticky pads, or even the first 14 years of play attention, we had a helmet design. And the reason everyone has something on the head is because that signal you give off is so small, it's so minute that it's easiest to monitor if you're close to the source, which is the head. But as Catherine said, but we have it down here. Because the difficulty with putting something on the head is that no one wants to wear something on the head. It's uncomfortable, it's invasive. If you're working with individuals with ADHD, often there are sensory issues as well, and they don't want something on the head. So we've worked very hard to advance the technology to a point where we can still monitor that same signal, even though we're further away from the source. Because just because you move away from the source, that signal doesn't disappear. It just gets harder to tune into. So we have to filter out all of that noise that occurs from the head to wherever you have it placed on your body. So we have to filter out the heart rate and muscle and blood flow so that we can still monitor that same signal, even though we're further away. So a great advancement of the technology makes it much easier to use and much more comfortable for the client. Good, Catherine. I'm glad that makes sense. Excellent. Thank you for that feedback. So again, with the integration of the feedback technology, that means all of the cognitive exercises that you were working on, whether you're working on attention stamina or you're working on task completion or organizational skills, all of those cognitive skills are brain enabled, meaning you have to be paying attention in order to activate the activity. If you're not paying attention, then the activity will stop or the character will go in the wrong direction. And you have to focus back in order to continue in the learning process. And the reason we do this is because we know that you can have a great counselor. You can have a great teacher. Many of you here are teachers. So you know you can be a fantastic teacher. But if your student is having a hard time paying attention to the teaching method, to the program, then it's going to be difficult for them to get maximum benefit. You have to be able to pay attention to the activity in order to actually learn, in order to spark that brain change necessary to develop those new neural pathways in the brain. Because we know that in order for you to reach your goals, whatever it may be, we have to start developing these new neural networks that are necessary for strong executive function. And brain change doesn't just occur, right? You can't just be sitting on the couch eating a bag of potato chips and expect brain change to occur. Well, brain change probably will occur, but it's not the change you want, right? In order to get positive brain change, we have to have specific catalysts in place in order to spark that brain change, in order to start creating those new neural pathways. And all of those catalysts are incorporated into play attention. So not only do you have advanced technology integrated with cognitive skill training, but you have integrated 3 catalysts that are necessary for brain change. Those include attention. And of course, we've already covered that, where all of the cognitive exercises are brain enabled. So you have to be paying attention in order to go through the exercises. Challenge is another catalyst that's necessary. Because if you go into a situation where you are going to be learning something, or maybe it might be academic work, or it might be an athletic drill, and you are 100% successful, if you are always 100% successful, then no learning is going to be taking place. So there has to be some kind of challenge in order for brain change to occur, in order to spark those new neural pathways to become formed. So the challenge is written within play attention through our algorithm. We have an auto adjust algorithm within our program. That means when you put that body wave armband on your arm, we're looking at your best ability to pay attention. And all of the activities are charged by that, right? So if you're able to reach or exceed that level of attention, you can activate the activity. If you are not able to reach that, then the activity will stop or the character will go in the wrong direction. If you're able to maintain that level of attention where you activated the activity and you're able to maintain that for a given number of seconds, then in the background, we raise the bar just a little bit. So now you have to be that much more focused in order to continue. So there's that auto adjust algorithm, making certain that you're always challenged. So you're here, you're doing really well. Now we're going to set the bar here. You have to be that much more focused in order to be successful. Now, many of you here might be thinking, but what if it causes frustration? Because my child is already frustrated at home or in school. And we know that, frustration, we have to account for that as well, because if you're 100% successful, you're not going to learn anything. But if you're frustrated, you're also not going to learn anything. So we have that auto adjust algorithm where if you're unable to reach that same level of attention because maybe you're getting a little bit fatigued midway through, then we bring that level back down to your last successful range and then gradually build you up again. So that auto adjust algorithm is always keeping you at a challenging yet success-based pace, which we know is critical for learning. Then there's deliberate practice. And the deliberate practice model is really important. If any of you have looked into deliberate practice, you've come across the work that Anders Ericsson did. And many times we look at athletes with deliberate practice. The top athletes have a very specific deliberate practice model. Many athletes, if you look at good athletes, they go in and oftentimes they are practicing what they're good at most of the time, right? They put most of their energy into practicing things that are easy for them or things that they are really good at. But those gold medalists, those top athletes in their field, they actually set a deliberate practice model, which means they have specific goals set and they practice things that are the most challenging for them. They practice those skills that are the hardest for them the most. So most of us, just as humans, we practice things and we repeat things that are easier for us. But the pros practice things that are the hardest for them. And they come into a learning program with a specific goal in mind. And play attention does that for you. So you can't just go through the motions. When you log into your session, our artificial intelligence called Sheer Genius will set a deliberate practice model session. So it will say, your next activity is time on task. Yesterday, you completed time on task with 70% attention. Today, you're going to try 72% attention. So there's always a small achievable goal for you to strive towards higher levels of achievement. Robin, I'm going to show you the different exercises that you are going to go through in just a few minutes. Good question, because there are a lot involved in the program. Now, as I mentioned, Play Attention is the only program available that integrates feedback technology with cognitive skill training and behavior shaping. Our method is what's patented. So we're the only program that provides this. And Tufts University School of Medicine wanted to know, is that integration important? Or can we just give you a series of cognitive exercises or what you hear a lot about as brain games and get the same results? So they went into the Boston Public School District and they had 3 different groups of students, all identified as ADHD. The first group received Play Attention. So they had full integration. They had the feedback technology, they had the cognitive skill training, and the behavior shaping. The second group received just cognitive exercises. So brain games on the computer, but no feedback technology and no behavior shaping. And the third was their control. So they received no intervention at all. So that was their control. And at the end of the study, the play attention students were the only students that showed global improvements in all areas, including academic, social, behavioral, and executive function. They were also the only students that if they started the study and they were on medication, because some of the students were on, some of them were not. If they started the study and they were on medication and they were in the play attention group, the play attention students had an average decrease in their medication, where the other two groups had an average increase. And that goes back to skill building. If we can help you develop the skills that you lack, then there may be less of a necessity to mask those symptoms. So really good studies. They even did a 6-month follow-up to make certain that after the study ended and the training ended, the skills maintained with the play attention students, which they did. If you want a copy of those studies, please type in Tufts and we'll make certain that we get those studies out to you if you'd like to review them. Catherine, great question, and I'm going to get to that as well. Now, I want to show you because many of you have been asking, so what are the activities? What do they look like? And Robin wants to know the different types of activities because there are several different activities. So I wanted to give you a visual. This is one of my clients, John. And John is showing you the first activity, which is called attention stamina. Now, attention stamina, the educational correlate here, what we're teaching is your ability to direct and sustain your attention at will, much like being able to pay attention to the teacher in the classroom or your colleagues in the workplace. So when you look at the screen, you'll see that there's a submarine, and that submarine starts at the top of the screen. And you notice if you look at his arm, you see that body wave armband. Remember, the body wave armband's monitoring his attentive state. Now, once he's focused and paying attention, he's able to push that character down to the bottom of the ocean just with his attention alone, just his mind alone pushes that character down to the bottom of the ocean. And then once it's down there, he knows this is what it means for me to pay attention. He is provided that experience of what we mean when we say, I need you to pay attention. This is what it means. Now, if he starts to get distracted, and distraction can be a variety of things. It can be that he starts to daydream. It could be that someone walks into the room and he can't filter that noise. It could also mean that he just starts to get a little stressed, or he starts a self-distracting behavior like picking his fingers. Immediately, that character is going to start to float up because he's no longer as attentive. And then he knows I have to control that behavior, control that daydreaming, focus back in order to push it back down to the bottom of the ocean. So you see through that constant and immediate feedback regarding his attentive state, you are providing him an opportunity to develop the self-regulation and self-monitoring he needs in order to do it at will, in order to now recognize when he's paying attention, but also recognize when he's not paying attention. And more importantly, through practice and repetition, know how to correct it on his own, correct that attention at will. Okay. Now, Catherine asked a really good question about hyperfocus. She said, well, what happens if they're hyperfocusing? And I bet many of you have experienced hyperfocus, right? Because it is a really, it's a really confusing thing at times, right? Because we hear so much about attention deficit, but that's a misnomer. There is no one with a complete deficit of attention. How many of you, you can use the raise your hand icon or type in the chat box if you'd like. How many of you have a child or a student or a client and they struggle with attention, but they can go home and they can play Minecraft or they can play some type of video game for hours and never move? Or sometimes I hear about Legos, but he'll go in his room and he'll work on his Legos for hours and hours and hours and never move. Yeah, many of you are saying, yes, you can absolutely relate to that. And that's what's so confusing, right? Why is it attention deficit? Well, really, it's not so much a deficit of attention. It's usually a diffused attention where you have great attention. It's just that you're paying attention to bits and pieces of everything. Or if it's very high stimuli or high interest, you can hyper focus. You are wired to hyper focus in those situations. So, high interest and high stimuli, no problem. You can pay attention, or your child or your students can pay attention to high stimuli, like a video game. So you'll notice our graphics are very simple. They are very low stimuli because we know we don't need to teach them how to pay attention to high stimuli. They can hyper focus on that. What we need to teach them is what's more difficult, and that's how to pay attention to low stimuli, much like the classroom teacher or the workplace, where you cannot possibly compete with that high stimuli. So that's why all of our graphics are very simple, very low stimuli. So that's, Catherine, that's one way we work on, hyper focus and not really getting them into that hyper focus mode. However, another thing that we do in the intermediate and advanced skill options, we integrate task switching, where you actually have to be working on your task, for example, pushing that character down to the bottom of the ocean. But in the intermediate level, you then have to push the space bar whenever an octopus appears on the screen. So we're asking you to stay focused on your original task, but then you have to take care of this task and then regain your attention on your original task. So that's task switching. So we're not allowing them to train themselves just to hyper focus, but that they can task switch so that they are mentally flexible. And of course, mental flexibility is part of executive function. Bill says, as an adult, I can certainly become hyper focused on projects I enjoy. Absolutely. Many of you are saying that. Excellent. All right. So that's just one activity out of many. Now, these are all of the different cognitive exercises that are available for your course. And everyone here will have a customized course where we assess your particular needs, and then we select with you the different modules that are most important for your course, because everyone here has different strengths and weaknesses. We might say that most of us here are ADHD, or most of us here have weak executive function, but everyone's needs are different. Everyone has different strengths and weaknesses. So there are many different exercises that we can put into your course, but keeping in mind that all of the cognitive exercises are brain enabled, meaning you have to activate each activity with your attentive state. All of these activities are brain enabled. So why do we work on these different cognitive skills? Well, remember, the main goal for your play attention course, why you're going through this course, is because you want to improve executive function. How many of you, I don't want to talk too much about executive function if you're not familiar with that term. So if you would raise your hand, use that raise your hand icon if you're familiar with executive function. If you're not, that's fine. You can type in no or don't raise your hand. It looks like about half of us are pretty familiar with executive function. Elizabeth's not sure. So let me just step back a little bit. Executive function, you can kind of think of it as the CEO of your brain. Right? It's what allows you to control your attention, your behaviors, your emotions. It allows you to plan, prioritize, organize, avoid procrastination, and remain on task. And these are processes that you use every day. However, we know that about 90% of individuals with ADHD have weak executive function. And ADHD isn't the only cause for weak executive function. It's one of the causes. But if you have weak executive function, that means that you have a hard time with planning and prioritizing. You may have a difficult time with emotion regulation. That's a process of executive function. You may have difficulty with transitions or that mental flexibility. You might have difficulty with impulse control. Those are all processes of executive function. And, we expect everyone to have strong executive function by the time they are in middle school. Unfortunately, we never teach what they need in elementary school in order to develop strong executive function. We just expect everyone to get there. Now, you start developing executive function as a baby, and that really does continue. That process continues into your mid 20s. If you need help, then we need to address certain cognitive skills in order to strengthen those core skills that are necessary for strong executive function. So um, if we talk about organization, for example, that's one of the processes of executive function. Well, in order for you to be more organized, you have to be able to pay attention to the situation. You have to be able to start that task right away, remember the information, control your impulsive nature. And all of those skills are what you're working on in every single play attention session. So every time you do a play attention session, we're developing those foundational skills you need in order to have strong executive function. So that's what you need to keep in mind when we do your course, when we customize your neurocognitive training course. Our end goal is strong executive function so that you will be successful back in the classroom and back at home. Elizabeth said, I used to think I was very decisive, then realized I was very impulsive. Big difference. That is a very good point. And, impulsivity is something that we work on in every single play attention activity. Now, your customized course will start with foundational modules. Okay. The foundational modules that we start with, these are the modules, the course modules that are part of the foundations of executive function. So the modules that you'll start with and that come standard with everyone's course is attention stamina. That's your ability to direct and sustain your attention at will. Visual tracking. This is a great one. If the teacher's ever said to you, he does great when I stand right next to him, but as soon as I walk away, he's out the window and out the door. And then he has that diffused attention where we're paying attention to a little bit of everything. So we work on staying focused and visually tracking as he or she moves about the room. Task completion. Task completion is the ability to start and complete in a timely manner. So that 15 minutes of homework will take 15 minutes and not 2 or 3 hours. Or if you get a work task, you can actually start and complete it without only getting your work tasks done at the very last minute when you're stressed. Short-term memory. Short-term memory is the ability to remember dates, names, facts. Filtering distractions, both auditory and visual. And we also have a module that focuses on transfer and generalization, because it's great if you can do a fantastic play attention session, but the real focus is, can you take all of the skills that you're learning within play attention and apply them back into the classroom or back into the workplace? So we have a module that you will have in your core program called Academic Bridge. And Academic Bridge focuses on your ability to apply the skills you've learned. This is where we say, take all of those skills you've learned and apply them. So you notice my student here, she has that body wave armband on, but she's not looking at the screen. She's paying attention to her writing assignment. As long as she's paying attention to her writing assignment, she hears from the computer, good, great, because we're monitoring her brain state that tells us she's paying attention to her writing. Now, if she starts to drift, if she gets distracted, then she's going to hear focus. And then she knows she's not in that state she needs to be in order to focus and complete that assignment in a timely manner. So your executive function coach that's assigned to you will help you determine what activities can we put into Academic Bridge. If it's a child, we can put in their homework. If you're doing e-learning, even better, they can do much of their work with that body wave technology on. So it's no longer mom and dad standing over your child saying, get back on task, right? The program is guiding them through that process and making them independent so that they're going to be able to self-regulate while doing their real work. If you're an adult, I have one adult that I work with, and she uses it while she day trades because she's a day trader. So she's only making her trades at her peak attentive state. I have a teacher that I work with, and we have incorporated academic bridge while she's grading papers because that's been something she's struggled with. We've made great strides in that area. I have another adult who does it while he is practicing the piano. He has that body wave armband on. So we can monitor your attention while you're doing different activities. And again, your executive function coach will help you determine what those activities could be. Anthony, I'm going to show you that next here. So the foundations of executive function, that's where your course will begin. And everyone here will receive those key modules: attention stamina, visual tracking, time on task, short-term memory, and filtering distractions. You'll also have the academic bridge, which addresses transfer and generalization. Now, we do have additional modules available, but each of the modules, whether you're working on the core modules or the advanced modules, each module integrates processing speed, task switching, impulse control, and distractors, because each module has a beginner, intermediate, and advanced skill option. So there are certain benchmarks you'll have to reach before moving up to intermediate and then to advanced. And our artificial intelligence called Sheer Genius will actually track those benchmarks and graduate when appropriate. So you don't have to track it. You're going to be graduated when it's determined that you've reached those certain benchmarks. And then it gets a little bit more complicated because we are looking at increasing your processing speed, improving your ability to task switch, improving your impulse control, and improving your ability to filter distractions. Now, if you decide that you want to integrate more modules into your program, then you'll be entering our masterclass, and you can integrate these other modules when you first begin to start your program, or if it's midway through or 3/4 of the way through, you can start these other modules at any time. And when we do the customization and talk to you about the different areas that are weakest for you, we can help customize and decide which of these activities are best for you. So the additional modules that are options for you include working memory. So Anthony, you asked about working memory, and many of you here are probably interested in improving working memory because that is a higher level thinking skill. It's not like short-term memory. Short-term memory is information you hold for about 15 to 30 seconds. Working memory is the ability to take in information, hold that information in your mental workspace, manipulate that information, and then respond. So it helps with comprehension, evaluating, problem solving. Working memory, Anthony, is one of our most popular masterclass modules. We also have auditory processing. So that's the ability to follow through with multiple step instructions. So if you say, go to your room, put away your sneakers, bring down your jacket, they'll be able to follow through with that without being redirected or reminded. Hand-eye coordination, that's for small motor control. So if there's any difficulty with handwriting or keyboarding. Social skills is one I would recommend if there are any difficulties with peer relationships and picking up social cues. Motor skills is a good one if you have more bumps, bruises, accidents than your peers. It helps with that mind-body coordination. Spatial memory is remembering where things are located. So if you come in and you throw the car keys up on the counter, 2 hours later, you'll remember where they're located so that you can actually leave the house on time. Then we also have a great mindfulness app. And, many of our clients are now using our mindfulness app just as a separate module on its own. So maybe not part of the training session, but they'll use it in the beginning of the day just to center themselves. And mindfulness is great. We hear so much about how mindfulness techniques actually help control the symptoms of ADHD. The difficulty with that is you cannot just look at someone with ADHD and say, now I want you to practice mindfulness, because mindfulness is hard. It's hard for all of us, but especially if you have a constant scattered mind. So what we do is we make accommodations, because you can learn mindfulness, but we have to make some accommodations. So you'll see a lotus flower in the middle of the screen. Once you have your mind in the present moment, you're able to start to open that petal on the flower. Now, if you start thinking about, what am I going to make for dinner? What do I have to pick up at the store? When's my next meeting? That petal is going to start to close, because you're no longer in the present moment. And then you have to bring yourself back in order to continue. And that is so important. And it's so important in the learning process, because now you're alerted. You have that visual representation. And again, through that immediate feedback, you begin to develop that ability to keep your mind in the present moment. If you're wondering which of the activities are most appropriate for you, because you think, well, I have a lot of different students, or we have 4 family members we want to enroll, where do we start? What do we focus on? We do have a few ways to do that. As I've mentioned a couple of times, you're going to have an executive function coach to help you with this process. But we do have a couple of assessments available. One is called Focus, which is a norm reference test of attentional control. And these are optional. You do not have to do these, but they are options. That Focus is a norm reference test of attentional control. It takes 20 minutes. It's computer-based. And at the end of the 20 minutes, we receive a full report that tells us how you performed compared to the performance of your peers. And we look at different areas of consistency, performance, impulse control, and your ability to deal with distractors, both auditory and visual. This is an appropriate assessment for any age 5 or above. So 5 all the way through adulthood. We also have the brief available. And the brief is a behavior rating of executive function. So it's an online survey. If you are under the age of 13, then the parent or the teacher will fill the survey out. If you are between 13 and 18, your parent or the teacher can fill it out, but you can also do a self-assessment. And of course, if you're an adult, you would do a self-assessment. And it is a survey, asks a variety of questions. And at the end, we get a full report that gives us a great snapshot of executive function on a day-to-day basis. So you can do one or the other or both, but again, it's an option for you. We can also customize your plan just based on other assessments you've done, or just a conversation with you and your specific goals and what you're struggling with. But if you're interested in the assessments, each assessment is $50, and then we need about a 30-minute block of time to review the results with you and talk about your customized plan. If you do want to do either a focus or brief assessment with this webinar special, you do get those at half price, so $25 per assessment. And then, like I said, we'll need about 30 to 40 minutes to follow up and do a full review with you and talk about customization. So if you are interested in doing an assessment, just type in assessment. If you want to do an assessment, or you just simply want more information, type assessment, and one of us will get in touch with you to talk about that process a little bit further. Because I know I went through a lot of different cognitive skills, and it's great to pinpoint the different areas, and then we need a plan, right? So we need a full package of, assessing your particular needs and making a plan from that. Now, your play attention program is going to include everything you need. So you'll have your body wave armband, okay? You'll have your customized neurocognitive training course. There's a full behavior shaping plan. I didn't talk about this, but the behavior shaping component is critical. So if you have a child or an adult that is fidgeting or nail biting, picking skin, chewing on their shirt, all of those self-distracting behaviors, our behavior shaping component will be turned on in your course. And it's so powerful because, many times they're unaware of the behaviors they're doing. They don't realize that they're picking their fingers or chewing their nails. And so within the play attention program, as soon as they start picking their fingers or chewing their nails or chewing their shirt, immediately the character will respond, the activity will respond. If you were working on that activity John was doing and he had that character at the bottom, as soon as he starts picking his skin, that character will start to float up. And now he has a one-to-one correlation on how that behavior affects his attention. And then sheer genius is going to set behavioral goals. So now there's an awareness of how that behavior affects me. And over time, they actually see that they can control it. And that's where you're going to see the real behavior changes take place. Now, it is important to set up a very consistent schedule. And by consistency, I mean at least an hour per week. So very easy to incorporate into your day-to-day, right? An hour per week. That could be 2 30-minute sessions. It could be 4 15-minute sessions. So very easy to just schedule into your day-to-day life. So let's say that you're doing 4 15-minute sessions, okay? After about 6 weeks of consistent training, you're going to start seeing small steps of improvement. So you'll notice you are more focused, you are more engaged, you actually remembered to follow through on multiple instructions that were given to you at your workplace. You're getting things done. Homework is no longer taking 3 hours every night. Your child isn't having the emotional outbursts that they usually have. So you're going to start noticing these small steps of improvement. But what you're not seeing is what's actually occurring in the brain. And that's that we're causing these new neural pathways to become formed. And in the beginning, those networks are weak. So that means one day it'll look like you're doing beautifully. And then the next day it'll look like you've never heard the word attention before, right? There's going to be up and down. It's a learning process. But through the practice and repetition, remember, we're sparking brain change, and then we're practicing and repeating in order to strengthen those networks to a point of permanency. And that's critical because we want to make certain that not only will you have these skills now when you're 20, but you'll have them when you're 40. Or your child's not only going to have them now when he's 8, but he's going to have them when he's 38. We have to work to that point of permanency. So graduation of your course will probably take about 40 hours. So if you're working that hour per week, I would plan on enrolling in the course and staying active for about 10 months. Now, around that 10-month period is a great time to do another focus or brief assessment to make certain everything's transferred and generalized. We'll make certain you're at all the advanced skill options within play attention. If everything looks good, then we can start graduating you. If it looks like there's more work to be done, then we simply customize the plan and we keep working. The important thing to keep in mind is that you have a lifetime membership with us. Everyone learns differently. So whether you need 40 hours or 60 hours, we continue working with you as long as necessary. And even once you graduate the course, if you want to continue using it as peak performance training, the program's yours. You have a lifetime membership, so you can continue using it as long as you'd like with that lifetime membership and unlimited support. So let's quickly run through the key features of play attention. As I mentioned, of course, you're going to have the body wave technology, your cognitive training course, your behavior shaping. Sheer genius is our artificial intelligence that guides you through the entire process. So your executive function coach is going to take you through a practice session just to make sure you're real comfortable with everything before you start working. And then sheer genius takes over. So when you log in, let's say Catherine logs into her session. Sheer genius is going to say, "Hello, Catherine. Today, you're going to do attention stamina, visual tracking, and time on task." So it sets the curriculum for the day. Also, remember that deliberate practice model is set. So it will say, yesterday, you completed time on task with 75% attention. Today, let's try 77%. And if you do that, then you earn a point, and the point goes into your reward system. There's a full reward system that Sheer Genius will track. So you can set up specific goals and rewards that you can then purchase with your Play Attention points. And all of that will be tracked and stored for you. Also, Sheer Genius is going to monitor your progress. So at any time, you can log into your dashboard and you can actually monitor your progress over time. We do have online training sessions now available. This is an option for you where you can actually purchase live online training sessions with one of our personal coaches. That means that you can log in to your session and have one of our professional coaches doing a Play Attention training session with you. A really exciting component that we just started in 2022, but it is a great component as an option for you. Now, after we get through the course, of course, you want to know what are the outcomes. So you're going to, of course, have improved executive function, which means you'll have increased attention, improved behavior, better ability to complete tasks, improved memory, less impulsivity. You may be more organized, improved relationships, less anxiety. The outcomes are amazing. And you can see on our website that we have a lot of success stories. If you want to look at some of the stories from our clients, you'll be able to see them on our website as well. And as I mentioned, we've been doing this for over almost 30 years. So we have many client testimonials on our website that come from children and parents and professionals. Now, we do have two different programs available. There is the home system, which comes with everything we chatted about, all of your body wave system, your neurocognitive training. It does come with a user license for 2 people. That means at any one time, we can enroll 2 family members into the program. Now, those user licenses are reusable. So once one person graduates, you can delete that file and enroll a 3rd or a 4th family member at no additional cost. You can also upgrade your user license if you want to enroll 4 people at one time. The professional version also includes everything we discussed, but it comes with an unlimited user license. That means if you have 25 clients you want to enroll tomorrow, you can enroll all 25 of them, and there's no continuing fees. Usually a lot of companies have licensing fees from year to year. There are no continuing fees. So there's no monthly fees. There's no relicensing fees. You will have that unlimited license for as long as you're using Play Attention. So again, everything you'll receive to run your program, the body wave technology, your neurocognitive training plan, you'll have your full behavior shaping component, a personal executive function coach to assist you every step of the way. You'll receive that 90-minute tutorial where we take you through a practice session to make certain you have, you know how to use the system appropriately, and a lifetime membership. Now, the home system is a one-time fee, as I mentioned, for your entire program, your entire course. It's a one-time fee, which is $1,795. And remember, that comes with your 2-user license and your foundational course modules. The professional system is a one-time fee, which is $2,495. And that comes with your core course modules and an unlimited user license. If you do have, some of you are asking about insurance. If you do have a flexible spending account or a health savings account, those typically will cover. If you're interested in a payment plan, we do work with Affirm, and Affirm offers different payment plan options for you as well. Yes, Anthony. Some practitioners do code it under some of their sessions, and we can talk to you about that as well. So that would be something that would be an option for a professional. So again, remember, your core modules include attention stamina, visual tracking, task completion, short-term memory, filtering distractions, and the transfer and generalization. But as a way of saying thank you to all of you who attended today, you're going to include not only you're going to receive not only our core skills, our core modules, but you are going to receive all of the modules that are included in our masterclass. So that means you're going to have about 13 different modules in your program. That's a $408 value because the masterclass is typically each activity module that you incorporate is about $50. But as a way of saying thank you, we are going to include for only our webinar attendees all of the modules that are part of the masterclass. So you'll have 13 altogether. And as I mentioned, if you want to get a better assessment of where to start, because of course, we're not going to start your course with all 13, right? We're going to pinpoint where we want to start. So if you want to do those assessments, you'll be able to do those as well. Now, if you want to continue asking me questions, please do. I know a lot of you do have to go, but I want to just give you a few next steps, and then I'll go back to those of you who had questions and answer your questions. So please do keep asking your questions. So your next steps, if you would like to go ahead and enroll in your customized play attention course, whether you're a professional or a home client, please type in your phone number and one of our advisors will give you a call here shortly. We like to do a phone call so that we can assess your particular needs, connect you with an executive function coach that seems the best for you. So if you would like to go ahead and start your course, just type in your phone number. If you want a particular time that we call you, please do type in the particular time, and you will be able to take advantage of not just the core modules, but also the masterclass as well. If you want the assessment and you didn't type in assessment yet, please do type in assessment, and we will make certain that we reach out to you with more information about the assessment. If you want to just talk about your individual needs, and you don't necessarily want an assessment, but you want just a one-on-one consultation, type in consult and we'll send you our consult schedule so that we can do a one-on-one consultation with you. And please don't raise your hand because I can't see your name when you raise your hand. So if there's something specific that you want, please do type it in the chat box. And then the next webinar is next Thursday at this same time. And it is going to be ADHD in the workplace. And we're going to talk about how to thrive and succeed in the workplace. It is an excellent webinar. And I believe that you'll get a lot of good information out of that webinar. So if you want us to register you for the next webinar, just type in webinar and we will make certain that we get you registered for that next webinar. But you can always go to our website at playattention.com and click on the webinars tab to see the upcoming events. All right. So again, if you'd like to start your program, go ahead and type in your phone number. If you want more information or you want to do an assessment package, please do type in assessment. If you just want to talk more because you have some specific questions and we've talked generally about what happens in the program, but you want to talk to one of us one-on-one, type in consult and we'll get you our consult schedule. So you can schedule a time that works best for you. Or if you want the next webinar, type in webinar and we'll make certain that you are registered for the next webinar. All right. Yes, we are running that special offer. I believe I have it on. Let me show you all of the activities because some of you are asking for all of the activities. These are all of the activities that you will receive as a webinar attendee. So you'll have the course modules that are included in the foundations of executive function, and you will receive all of the modules which are part of our masterclass. And we will customize and make certain that we address your specific needs in everyone's courses. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great weekend, and we hope to see you at our next webinar next Thursday. Take care, everyone.